Okay, hello. Hello, is it working? I think it's working. I think we're okay. Um, things are very silly today. I hope I don't have my reverb on. Where's my filter? Okay, no, we're good. We're good. Oh my god, I'm streaming on two different sites. That's crazy. I'm on YouTube and Twitch, baby, but don't tell either one of them. Shh. Shh. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. Anyway, how are you today? We're reading The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish, Vol.4, because it just came out and I'm excited. And I already know a little bit of spoilers, I think. Damn, YouTube streaming is really weird. I'm so not used to this. Warning, the stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended I don't care. What am I supposed to do about it? What the hell am I supposed to do about it? Whatever. Listen, if the VOD gets silly on YouTube, don't worry. I still have my Twitch VOD. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. I can still upload that if that is what we need. But yes, hello. Welcome. How are we? I hope we're feeling good. My OBS looks weird now. It's all disorganized. But that's fine. We're normal. We're very normal. We're very normal and excited to read this fish book. And excited to read this book. I got the is it the exclusive version? I don't know what it's called. Just the special version. It has like a lot of extra goodies. A lot of extra goodies, and the fucking bookmark is gold. It has Liu as a beautiful ethereal merman, and then on the other side it's man Liu. Oh, it's so good, and his butt is so shiny. But anyway, it's time to read. I hope you have tea. I hope you have your sanity. Shut up. My computer. And yeah, our first chapter is on page... what? I don't know. It doesn't have a number on it yet. On page 11. Chapter 115, called Fish Baby Therapy. Say it with me, Fish Baby Therapy. Honestly, that's how I feel about it. Every time I read about the fish babies, I'm like, yeah, this is therapy. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it, volume 4! Oh my god! Oh, this is the last one. I'm gonna be so sad. Okay. I'm starting, okay? I'm starting. Prince Jing pulled open the curtain inside the tent. Wang Ji was standing guard outside for the night and hadn't gone to bed yet. Your Highness, don't worry, he said hurriedly when he saw Prince Jing. I'll go take a look. Hey, I actually don't remember what happened in the last volume. Can someone remind me? What the fuck happened? Is this just a... I don't remember. Okay, let's just continue. I think I'll get my answers if I just continue. Prince Jing nodded and gestured for Wang Ji to be careful, and Wang Ji ducked out of the tent. Prince Jing looked down at the children. They didn't seem affected by being forced to sleep somewhere different from their usual. They were so fast asleep that their cheeks were rosy. Oh yeah, they're in a tent. They're at the hunting tournament? I don't know, event, whatever. Bullshit. I forgot. Oh yeah, and they were like, oh, we're gonna be attacked, but guess what? We already know, and we're prepared. Yeah, okay. I remember now, I remember. Prince Jing carried the children over to Liu and wrapped all the fish up together in a brocade quilt. Then he unsheathed his sword and stood next to the bed, silent. Liu was a little nervous and kept trying to comfort himself. Even though he wasn't sure what the sixth prince was going to do, he didn't think he'd be able to manage anything too drastic. I'm actually kind of paranoid about other sounds being captured, so I'm just gonna turn those off just real quick. I don't know. Things are silly. Anyway. Together, he and Prince Jing waited for Wang Ji's news. Before too long, Wang Ji rushed back in. He took a deep breath. Your Highness, it's a mess out there, he whispered. The guards on patrol discovered that a man had snuck had snuck into concubine Lu's tent. They presumed it was an assassin, but it turned out it was an old acquaintance of concubine Lu's. Liu was taken aback. Upon consideration, Wang Ji's words held deep implications. Concubine Lu was a mother of eight, was the mother of the eighth and youngest prince, and she had also attended the hunting festival. Why would an old acquaintance of a concubine with a promising future suddenly appear right under the emperor's watchful eyes? What's more, the concubines who came with the emperor to the hunting grounds had their own tents at night, but they were still all concentrated in one area. Concubine Lu's was in the innermost part. It was guarded by servants and palace attendants in shifts, and several troops of guards stood on the outside. A skilled master would struggle to sneak in, much less a random acquaintance, and they had done it unnoticed. That was quite suspicious. What kind of old acquaintance had to come to the hunting grounds during the festival and sneak into someone's tent in the middle of the night? Liu thought of a melodramatic possibility. No way! Was the so-called acquaintance actually concubine Lu's lover, and they were having a secret date? Was he able to sneak in so smoothly because concubine Lu was acting from the inside? How else could you explain how long it took the guards to notice? In ancient times, it was taboo for a woman and a man to be alone together. If the emperor's consort was found with an unfamiliar man, she would either be sentenced to death or cast to the cold palace. Concubine Lu and the man were old acquaintances. Wasn't that basically proof that she was cheating on the emperor? When Liu heard the shouts of "assassin" outside, he really thought it must be an assassin sent by the sixth prince, or that the assassin must at least be related to him in some way. But instead, it was just concubine Lu cheating on the emperor? Wang Ji was very considerate toward the emperor. He called the man the concubine's acquaintance and didn't mention anything about cheating or the circumstances under which the man was discovered. It took Liu a moment to realize what he meant. Almost like Sobao. Why are you doing it? I don't know. Go check it out. See if I am. I am. I'm trying. I think it's happening. I believe so. It's weird. YouTube interface is weird. Anyway, why did he throw Sobao under the bus like that? Just not under the bus. What's the phrase? He just brought up Sobao unprompted. That's crazy. They hadn't caught any assassins. They had caught two lovers in the act. This didn't happen in the novel. This was a common plot in palace novels, though, so Liu wasn't sure if concubine Lu's affair was real or if she was being framed by someone else. Either way, a man had been found in her tent. The emperor must be furious. "Tianqi, do you want to go take a look?" Liu wasn't sure himself. Prince Jing slowly shook his head. At a time like this, the emperor would definitely want as few people there as possible. If a prince rushed over, he would embarrass the emperor instead of being a comforting presence. But it would also seem rude if Prince Jing didn't show any concern. What should they do? Got it! Liu's gaze landed on Dabao. Huh? What is he doing? Dabao was currently sleeping soundly, dreaming of fish food and huge chicken legs. Something suddenly touched his cheek. Opening his eyes, he found that his fish father was smiling at him. Dabao rubbed his eyes and sat up. Still smiling, Liu said, "I'm sorry for waking you up, Dabao, but can you help Daddy out with something urgent?" Dabao was the oldest, and he had to protect both his brothers and his dads. He quickly said, "Yes." Poor baby. It's a toddler. Liu met Prince Jing's eyes and picked Dabao up. And they all headed toward the emperor's dragon tent together. Wait, you're just gonna leave the other children unattended? Oh boy, they are making me nervous. Head eunuch Lo was anxiously pacing around outside. The emperor was so outraged with concubine Lu that he refused to drink a sip of water and wouldn't see the imperial physician. When head eunuch Lo saw Prince Jing and his consort come with their little heir, his eyes lit up and he ran in to report it. They're so stupid. Liu and Prince Jing waited outside. Not long after, the sixth prince arrived as well. Soon, head eunuch Lo let Prince Jing's family go in, but he didn't so much as mention the sixth prince. Liu and Prince Jing entered the dragon tent. It had been so bustling and lively earlier during the day, but now the tent was empty. The ground was a mess, and fragments of cups and bowls scattered around. The emperor sat on the dragon throne, alone, with a dejected air all about him. It looked like he'd aged several years since they'd last seen him. The emperor had already interrogated concubine Lu, and she was now confined somewhere alone. The appearance of a strange man in his young consort's tent had dealt the emperor a heavy blow. He was in a terrible mood. Grow up. What are you doing here? He demanded rudely. He'd had to send away a bunch of concubines earlier. Was Prince Jing here to hassle him now as well? Liu spoke on Prince Jing's behalf. Royal father, Dabo started to miss you in the middle of the night and wouldn't stop crying for you. Lawyer. In the end, we had to bring him to see you. Why'd you attack me? It's so rude. I keep getting warnings on my YouTube stream health. It says, this stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. I don't care! Literally, what am I supposed to do about it? I am streaming with Wi-Fi though, so that might be a factor. Anyway. Where was I? Fishfather had already told Dabao that his grandpa was in a bad mood, so he hurriedly reached out with his chubby little arms. The emperor's emotions were complicated right now, but he loved this child. He had Luo Risheng bring Dabao over. Dabao kept his arms out the entire time, and when he arrived at the emperor's lap, he wrapped the emperor up in a hug and patted him gently with one hand. Grandpa, hug, Dabao said in his soft voice. The emperor suddenly had the urge to cry. Liu and Prince Jing watched the emperor nervously, worried that Dabao might make the angry emperor even more unhappy. But this was also the only way to get the emperor to take care of himself at a time like this. Is it? Or maybe he can grow up. I want sub to you, Lamau Bozo. You what? You're a mod, so it doesn't matter, does it? Oh, was it? Doesn't really matter. Oh, this tea is so good, though. I wish you could try it. It's really good. Maybe the emperor, he doesn't need— oh my god, you're relying on a baby for your mental health? That is not the way to do it. What the fuck? Grow up. I hate this guy. Liu and Prince Jing watched— oh, we already said this. You can go— what? You can all go. Dabao can stay. The emperor waved his hand, not wanting his son to see him so dispirited. I wouldn't do that. Prince Jing and Liu looked at each other, then exited the tent with head eunuch Lo. Listen, I know it's fiction. I know that, and this is not the genre. But you cannot leave your child with a grown-ass man like that is, like, weirdly infatuated with— listen, it's just not okay. It's not okay. Don't do this. Don't leave your kid unattended with anyone. Really. I spilled. MC invented a gun and used it on the emperor. I don't know. Okay. Is your keyboard okay? You seem to be having issues. No offense, but no. Okay. Prince Jing and Liu looked at each other and exited the time with the head eunuch Lo. Soon, snacks and tea were brought into the tent, and Dabao's giggling could be heard from inside. Prince Jing, Liu, and head eunuch Lo all felt relieved. The next day, the emperor was in high spirits. Though what had happened was unpleasant, it was a private matter, so the emperor had sent concubine Lu back to the palace during the night. He didn't plan on revealing too much in front of the princes and the ministers, so the hunting festival continued. But before the second hunt started, Prince Li of the imperial clan court (footnote: the imperial clan court was in charge of all things having to do with the imperial family during the Ming and Qing dynasties. Cool. Okay. The Prince Li of the imperial clan court arrived in a rush on his horse and asked to see the emperor, stating that there was something to discuss. The emperor glanced at all the flags fluttering on the hunting grounds and knew that the hunt very well might be over. Prince Li had heard about concubine Lu's incident and had come to see what the emperor had to say about it. Concubine Lu was the 8th prince's mother. After all this, what was the 8th prince supposed to do? Not to mention that if this man was an old acquaintance of concubine Lu's, she must have known him before she entered the palace. As for whether or not they kept in contact after she entered the palace, the two of them had been in the same tent. This cast some doubts on the 8th prince's parentage. Oh shit. Prince Li tried his best to persuade the emperor. Your Majesty, the imperial bloodline cannot be tainted. Please make a decision. He had brought 2 elderly imperial physicians along with him. As the emperor's younger brother and the head of the imperial clan court, Prince Li was in charge of the royal family affairs. It was obvious that he'd come here to ask the emperor for permission to test the 8th prince's true heritage. Although the royal family had a method for testing this, it was secret. It could only be used when the legitimacy of a member of the royal family came under doubt, and with the emperor's permission. This caution was to keep the method confidential, so it couldn't be exploited by others. The emperor hesitated for a moment, but concubine Lu's actions didn't make him suspicious. If Prince Li hadn't come now, he would have sought him out once he returned to the palace anyway. Since they were already at this point, they might as well test it. If he dragged it on for too long, perhaps the 8th prince himself would start having doubts too. The emperor was about to agree when Prince Li knelt and took out a document from his sleeves. Your Majesty, to be honest, there's another important matter. The night before I came, this somehow appeared on my desk in my study. I didn't believe it at first, but when I saw that something had happened at the hunting festival, I felt it was quite suspicious. Prince Li presented the document. The emperor took it and glanced over it. It was a letter to Prince Li revealing 2 secrets. One was that concubine Lu was having an affair, and the other was that Prince Jing's sons weren't his biological children. Me. You're gonna look so dumb now. Oh, you're gonna look so dumb. Idiot. As the head of the imperial clan court, Prince Li received at least 800 requests a day. There was no shortage of baseless rumors. If he believed everything he received, he wouldn't have time to do anything else. He'd intended to dismiss it at first, but when he heard about concubine Lu's affair at the hunting grounds and started looking into the man's identity, Prince Li's heart sank. Most of the information about concubine Lu in the letter was true. What about Prince Jing then? Prince Li thought about how much the emperor had come to care for Prince Jing's son, as well as his expectations for Prince Jing himself. If the letter was true, how could he sit still? He hurried over, not only for the sake of the 8th prince, but for the emperor as well. What should we do, Your Majesty? Prince Li thought it was better to kill an innocent than to accidentally let the guilty go. Ew. Since they were already doing the test, why not test Prince Jing's son as well? According to the letter, Prince Jing had 4 sons while he was at the western border. It was well known that people who were born mute could pass it on to their children. The fact that none of Prince Jing's sons were afflicted with the same condition was suspicious by itself. Disregarding everything else, Prince Li agreed with that one point. The emperor's face darkened as he kept reading. Prince Li was afraid that the emperor would be angry with him, but the emperor didn't do anything to him even after he finished reading the letter. "I understand," he said. "You can go. Don't speak of this to anyone." Prince Li left, heart beating fast. It was minutes later that he remembered the emperor hadn't made a decision on the 8th prince yet. The emperor read the letter a couple of times, thinking about the way Dabao cared for him, and came to a conclusion. He ordered Luo Rusheng to summon Prince Jing to the dragon tent as soon as possible. "Tianqi, you have to be careful." Liu glanced at their surroundings and wrote a 6 in Prince Jing's palm. Concubine Lu's incident, Prince Li's appearance, he felt like the 6th prince had a hand in both. Prince Jing understood. He had the same suspicions, but he wanted Liu to wait for him without worrying. Prince Li was the head of the imperial clan court. If he came rushing over from the palace, that meant that there must be some urgency to the situation. He passed by Prince Li earlier, and Prince Li hadn't been able to meet his eyes. Prince Jing was almost certain that Prince Li's business was related to him. When he entered the dragon tent, a folded document came flying at his head. Prince Jing was alert and could tell that the document wouldn't reach him. Instead, it fell to the floor. Half a foot away from him. My computer's so loud. Prince Jing could sense the emperor's rage. He picked up the document and looked it over. One glance was all it took for him to know the 6th prince's plan. As it turned out, Concubine Lu was only bait. She was being used to draw the emperor's attention into the children. Since there weren't many confidants around the 6th prince, it was difficult for Prince Jing to send someone to keep an eye on him. The 6th prince was cunning and only trusted himself, so it was impossible to know the precise details of whatever he was planning. But since Prince Jing had reached here overnight, with imperial physicians, it meant they intended to test the legitimacy of the children, right? Without Concubine Lu, the emperor might not have believed what the letter said, but because Concubine Lu's betrayal came first, the emperor was more sensitive to matters like these. He would definitely have all the children tested. That was the purpose of the document. Prince Jing was waiting for the emperor's announcement. Instead, though, to his surprise, the dissatisfied emperor said, "Tianqi, someone wants to harm Dabao. Do you know who it is?" He's so whipped. He loves his grandbaby so much. Oh my god. The emperor hadn't been tricked by the letter at all. Instead, he wanted to protect Dabao. And that is the end of chapter 115. By the way, I have not looked at— what the fuck? I was gonna say that I have not looked at the chapter titles at all, so I'm going into this blind. But then I saw the inside art. I don't think I'm allowed to look at that. I don't think that I'm allowed to see that right now. What the fuck is that? Is that just like something else? Or like, okay, I'm not gonna share it just in case that it's a spoiler, which would be actually crazy unless it's like in an extra chapter or something. They're probably extras, right? Oh my god. I don't know. There might be, there might not be. I'm scared actually. What? I did that on accident. I didn't even mean to look at it. That was okay. Well, I don't know any of the— oh wow, why was that so loud? Sorry. I don't know any of the chapter titles until we get to them. So yeah, that's that. Okay, next chapter, 116. It scared me. You don't understand. If you understood, then you would understand. If you understood, then you would understand it. Oh my god. I can't look away from it now. Ah! Okay. The next chapter is called Fish, Hide and Seek. Hide and seek, trades and sewing machines. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit crazy because of the inside art, the what is it called? The art that's past the cover, the extra internal art. I don't know what to call it. Oh, thank you. Oh no. Oh no. I'm fine, and I can't tell you, but okay. Fish hide and seek. Let's just get into it. Fish hide and seek. Page 21. If it had been any of his other grandchildren, even the other fish babies? This guy. The emperor might not have been so concerned. This guy. He would have most likely taken the opportunity to have them tested. People were always suspicious of people or things they weren't familiar with, but the emperor remembered that 3 of Prince Jing's children looked a great deal like Prince Jing when he was younger. Oh, okay. And the last one looked like the consort. He wasn't blind. How could he doubt something so obvious? That's true. That's true. What made him the most concerned was the identity of the person who had given Prince Li this information. Concubine Lu's affair was a scandal, and the emperor had ordered Oh, you know what? I've been looking at nothing this whole time. Beautifully bad boost off singing. What the hell? This guy is so mean. Not after my arcade concert. I also have another karaoke in like 3 days. Oh boy. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna be looking at a book now. At this book now, okay? We're good with that? Okay, cool. Where was I? As if y'all could tell me. The trust the emperor had in Prince Li didn't develop... What? No, where am I going? I'm gonna start from here again. What made him the most concerned was the identity of the person who had given Prince Li this information. Concubine Lu's affair was a scandal, and the emperor had ordered Luo Risheng to suppress any news of it. How had Prince Li found out? The trust the emperor had in Prince Li didn't develop overnight. It was accumulated slowly since they were children. Otherwise, he would never have let this younger brother of his take over the imperial clan court and handle the royal family affairs. He was sure that this wasn't some plot of Prince Li's, so someone must have leaked the news to him. First, there was an incriminating letter when Prince Li learned of Concubine Lu's affair. He would naturally take the letter seriously, and even come to the hunting grounds to talk to the emperor. Under most circumstances, the emperor would listen to Prince Li. If this emperor hadn't been very familiar with Prince Jing's children, it was likely that Prince Jing's children and the 8th prince would be tested. And then what would happen? The informant already wrote it clearly in the letter. They wanted to prove that the children weren't Prince Jing's and thus not a part of the royal bloodline. The emperor had fought for the throne before, and he knew what sort of underhanded methods one could use to do it, but that was what also made him angry. Oh, I hit my tooth. No matter what the result of the 8th prince's test was, the emperor would always feel a little uncomfortable around him because of Concubine Lu. If there was anything amiss with Prince Jing's children, then it was probably over for Prince Jing too. What a vicious plan, to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If it had succeeded, both the 8th prince and Prince Jing would be out of the picture. Fortunately, he trusted the children, so he saw this malicious plot. So he saw through this malicious plot. Why can't I say malicious plot? Malicious plot. So he saw through this malicious plot. Otherwise, if he had been deceived, what would have happened to Dabao? The emperor was too afraid to continue with this train of thought. Tianqi, do you have any ideas? he asked Prince Jing, hoping that his son would notice the same things he did. Prince Jing had thought it over several times already. He realized that the Emperor's protectiveness over Dabao meant he would have to change up his plan a little. Prince Jing gave it some thought and asked for a brush and a paper from the Emperor. He quickly wrote, Using concubine Lu as bait, someone is trying to frame me and Dabao. The Emperor nodded. Prince Jing clearly had some brain cells. Side eye. Since the Emperor asked, Prince Jing let him know about the previous incident. A couple of days ago, a thief had snuck into his manor, wanting to take Dabao's blood, but had taken someone else's by mistake instead. Prince Jing explained it cleverly so that the Emperor wouldn't notice he was using the enemy's plan against them. As for who was behind the thief, Prince Jing knew that he would seem suspicious if he spoke the truth outright. He trusted the Emperor to work out who would reap the most reward from this plan. The Emperor finally understood why Dabao and Prince Jing were being framed. Despite looking so obviously similar, from what Prince Jing said, it was clear that this was a long-standing plot. Then what about Concubine Lu? The Emperor recalled Concubine Lu begging him on her knees. They had indeed caught a strange man in her tent, and she had admitted that she'd known this man when she was a child, but she promised again and again that they had never had any further contact after she entered the palace. She truly didn't know why he'd suddenly appeared in the hunting grounds, or why he had entered her tent. Was something amiss with that whole incident as well? It was a good thing he hadn't killed anyone in his fury last night. Otherwise, there'd be nobody to verify any of it. Concubine Lu had been sent back to the palace overnight. The Emperor decided to interrogate the man who had been beaten within an inch of his life by the guards for some more clues. Stay here. There's no need to go back, he told Prince Jing. I'll find out the truth. It wasn't because the Emperor didn't trust Prince Jing, but because he'd wanted to mislead those behind the scenes to a false sense of security. If they thought Prince Jing had been locked up, they could continue their plan. They're plotting against the plotters. I love to see it. Prince Jing understood that the Emperor had his own plans. He quickly knelt down. Tianqi, what's wrong? The Emperor didn't understand what Prince Jing meant by this. Prince Jing pointed in the direction of his own tent and looked at the Emperor. The Emperor furrowed his brow. Are you worried about Liu and the children? Don't worry. I'll have Luo Rusheng pass along a message for you. Prince Jing slowly shook his head, not just worried. The Emperor recalled the intimacy between Prince Jing and his consort and helplessly said, Then write a letter yourself and have Luo Rusheng bring it over with an item of yours as proof. That ought to be fine, right? Prince Jing hesitated for a moment but shook his head again. Then what do you want? The Emperor was a little annoyed that he couldn't get it right, and he raised his voice without noticing. Should I bring them over and reunite you all? Is that enough for you? The Emperor wasn't serious, but Prince Jing clasped his hands together and thanked him. The Emperor almost exploded from anger, but he waved his hand and said, Fine, I'll have Luo Rusheng personally make the trip. Head Eunuch Luo agreed immediately and asked Prince Jing if there was anything he wanted him to take with him. Prince Jing lowered his head and pulled out a silver bead on a red string from his collar. Though the Emperor was annoyed and didn't want to show that he cared, he caught a glimpse of more than one object hanging around Prince Jing's neck. In addition to the silver bead, there was also something that looked like a round rock. What the hell is that? What the hell is even that? No, okay. Prince Jing was about to hand over the silver bead, but after a moment, he took it back and kept kneeling. Can you make up your mind? The Emperor asked impatiently. Prince Jing's eyes flashed, asking the Emperor for his forgiveness, and made the request he actually wanted. While Prince Jing went to see the Emperor, Liu stayed in the tent with the children. He wasn't used to not having anyone he could discuss matters with. Even though they didn't really know how to walk, a small tent wasn't enough to contain their childlike playfulness. Liu had no choice but to play with them to distract them, as well as to distract himself. Prince Jing didn't return for a long time, and Liu felt the worry and panic from when he was left alone in the other residence start to bubble up again. Stay steady. You have to trust him. You can't do anything impulsive. Liu had to take a deep breath to calm himself down. Daddy! Sabao's little voice piped up. Coming back to his senses, Liu found that his children were holding tightly to the edges of his clothes. You still have kids. Don't panic. Liu smiled and picked up each one, kissing them. Do you want to play hide and seek or tug of war? The children looked at each other. Tug of war wasn't very interesting because whichever side Fish Daddy was on would win. Wait, that implies that Liu actually goes... He takes this shit seriously and he wants to win every time. It's so stupid. Oh my god, Liu! He's playing tug of war with his kids, with literal toddlers. And he's beating them every time. He doesn't let them, try to let them win or anything. It doesn't let them... Oh my god. What a loser! This guy. They unanimously decided on hide and seek. That is a really bad idea, but okay. Liu had one child cover his eyes with a handkerchief while he and the others went to hide. Since they couldn't quite walk, Liu didn't make it hard for them. He barely hid before they found him. Soon it was his turn to seek. Really bad idea. Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm fine! I'm fine! I'm sorry, there's an illustration and he's so cute. It's so fucking cute! I can't deal with it. Liu was blindfolded by Erbao and Sanbao. The children didn't know how to tie a knot, but Dabao had an idea. He pulled Wang Ji over to help. Wang Gongong covered his mouth and laughed, then helped them tie the blindfold. Dabao, Erbao, Sanbao, and Sibao split up. If they couldn't walk fast, they'd crawl. If they couldn't crawl fast, they'd roll. Dabao headed straight for the curtains, lifted it up, and hid behind it. Erbao and Sanbao found a bamboo basket and got into it at the same time, but their heads collided and they realized this wasn't a good spot. Then they found a table and both got under it. But when they bunked their heads together again, they decided it still wasn't quite right. They're so stupid! The two children rubbed their foreheads and looked at each other before coming to a sudden realization. One hid under the table, while the other hid in the bamboo basket. Oh my god! I'm gonna kill myself. They're so cute. They're so fucking cute. I can't do it. I can't deal with this. Sibao looked around, lifted the brocade quilt, and lay under it. Liu counted from 1 to 10 and started his search. He barely pulled the handkerchief down when he saw the curtain had a bulge for some reason. The bamboo basket that had been standing before was knocked over, revealing half a butt, and someone was hiding just his head under the table. I can't. I cry. Oh my god. Liu laughed and coughed lightly. To make it more excited, he put the handkerchief back on his face before trying to capture the children. Daddy can find you even if he's blindfolded, he declared mightily. He pulled the children out from under the bamboo basket and table, then pushed the curtain aside suddenly. The children's shrieks and laughs rose and fell. And the illustration on the other pages of him. Oh my god. He's picking up whichever one hid in the basket. They don't say which one. And then behind you can see the table with the other kid's butt sticking out. It's so cute. And I think you can see the lump. The lumps of the other two kids. Oh, they're so cute. I can't do with this. I can't. Liu had already found 3 of them and was on his way to finding the 4th. It wasn't a big tent. The only place left was the bed. Confident, Liu started feeling his way toward the bed. Suddenly, he felt something large, tall, and firm. Uh-oh. What was something like that doing in the tent? The children's voices became louder, and they all called happily, "Daddy!" Liu felt an arm and a leg. He hurriedly took off the handkerchief that was covering his eyes, but before he could get a clearer look, he was wrapped up in a heated kiss. I wonder who it could be. Liu was startled, but when he recognized Prince Jing's breathing, he immediately surrendered, almost drowning in the sudden warmth. The children watched as their fish father turned into a steamed fish. It was fine. They were all family anyway. Kissing wasn't a big deal, Liu tried to tell himself. He and Prince Jing had only been separated for a little while, so why were they clinging to each other like that? Clinging to each other like they'd been apart for ages. Of course, Liu had no idea either. When the Emperor asked Prince Jing if he knew anything about the situation, it had felt to Prince Jing like he was standing on the edge of a cliff. All it would take was one wrong step to be shattered to pieces. Despite all that, Prince Jing had survived. He'd even gained the Emperor's trust. Of course, he was relieved when he saw Liu again. But he wouldn't tell Liu this. Why are you dressed like that? Liu hugged Prince Jing's arm. Prince Jing had changed into a guard's outfit, which was completely different from what he was wearing when he left. That was why Liu hadn't been able to tell who he was just by touch. Prince Jing's lips quirked into a smile, and he suddenly wrote down what happened for Liu. So, Royal Father wants us to go to him? Liu asked, surprised. Prince Jing nodded. It was best to get moving as soon as possible so the news wouldn't get out. Liu was confused. Since they were going to meet in the Emperor's tent anyway, why did Prince Jing come back? He could have just sent someone over to fetch them. And why was he wearing the clothes of a guard? Liu didn't ask, but the question showed on his face. Prince Jing held Liu's hand under his sleeve, and pointed at his nose, smiling. Because of him? Ow. Sorry, I ate spicy noodles earlier and they, are being mean to me right now. They're being a little mean. What? Held a hand under his sleeve and pointed at his nose, smiling. Because of him? Liu's heart suddenly felt warm. Why did he make this trip? Wasn't it because he was worried about his children's safety? Prince Jing had hidden his identity and asked the Emperor for permission just to pick them up. He was so moved that he was getting sniffly, but he was still too embarrassed to ask for another kiss in front of the children. Even so, he was still very happy that Prince Jing was so attentive. He held Prince Jing's hand tightly and swung it back and forth a little, trying to demonstrate that he'd remember this forever. Liu and Wang Ji picked up the children and were about to leave, but found that one of them was missing. It turned out that Sibao, hiding in the quilt, had fallen asleep waiting for his fish father to find him. Prince Jing, and in his guard disguise, bent down to pick up Sibao from the quilt and guarded him securely. The group didn't get far before they bumped into the sixth prince. Did something happen, consort, for you to be in such a hurry? Ah, and where's fifth royal brother? It seemed like the sixth prince had just happened to run into Liu while taking a walk and ask him a very normal question. But Liu knew that this was a test. If he hesitated for too long, or if Prince Jing realized that the guard next to him was Prince Jing... If he hesitated for too long, or if the sixth prince realized that the guard next to him was Prince Jing, it was over. The image the Emperor had crafted of being furious at Prince Jing would be shattered. How should he answer to avoid suspicion, and how could he get rid of the sixth prince as soon as possible? Luckily, Wang Ji rushed to defend his master and answer for Liu. Your Highness, Prince Jing hasn't returned yet, and the consort would like to see what's going on. Everyone knew that after Prince Li's secret discussion with the Emperor had called for Prince Jing. It was true that there had been no news since then. I can read. So what Wang Ji said was unbelievable. Nope. I can't read. So what Wang Ji said was believable. He really hasn't come back yet? The Sixth Prince's eyes lit up. Did his plan work? Was the Emperor keeping Prince Jing there because he was suspicious of him? Liu nodded with some difficulty. Prince Jing quietly tightened his grip on his sword. If the Sixth Prince dared to try and harm Xiao Yu, he would move first to protect him. Luckily, the Sixth Prince was completely focused on Xiao Yu and the children. With Wang Ji inferring too, he failed to notice anything strange about the guard, preoccupied with trying to pry more information from the consort. Everyone was wrapped up in their own thoughts. Liu was just trying to figure out how to make it quickly. What? Liu was trying... What? Oh my god. Oh my god, it's getting to me. Liu was just trying to figure out how to make a quick, natural getaway when Dabao, who was holding his hand, suddenly started crying. Dad, want daddy! Uh-oh. Liu suddenly had an idea and picked up Dabao to comfort him. Dabao, don't cry. I'll take you to see him now. Liu nodded at the Sixth Prince and led Dabao away, along with Wang Gongong, with Prince Jing right on their heels. They got away! Oh my god. Okay. That's the end of that chapter. Okay. The next chapter is called Brave Fish Babies. But right now I have to take a short little break and use my beautiful bookmark. I am going to take a short break. Hello? I'm not. Okay, I'm here. I'm gonna take a short break. I'm gonna go feed the dogs real quick and I will be back. Unfortunately, it might be a little bit longer today because my doggo has to take medication, so I have to set that up for him. But yeah, I will be back in a moment. Okay. I'll see you then. Not bye. Just BRB. BRB. Okay, I'm back. I'm back and everything's fine, and I stretched and stuff. I'm gonna stretch more though. Okay. Okay. My tummy doesn't hurt. No, it doesn't. You know why? It's not even the spice. It's just because the noodles are like vermicelli noodles, and those always kind of are weird for my stomach. It's because I don't chew them, and then I just eat them whole, and then my tummy has extra work to do. But yeah, that's what's going on. Okay. Chapter 117. Brave Fish Babies. Brave fish baby. Brave fish babies. On page 33. I really want to spoil things for myself, but I will not. I will not go look in all the illustrations. I won't do it. That's not good for my voice. Okay, Brave Fish Babies. Let's go. Though the sixth prince, great start. Though the sixth prince found it strange that Prince Jing's consort had run off so quickly and disappeared in the blink of an eye, he wasn't particularly close to the new male consort. He was too thrilled over the fact that Prince Jing still hadn't returned, and he quickly forgot any confusion. He didn't try contacting his people again. It would be best to let everything progress as planned. Sending a letter now would be unwise. At most, it would take 2 days for the conclusion to be reached. The sixth prince walked toward his tent, happy with himself. When he entered, he saw his consort looking anxious. He felt like this was an unlucky sign. In the past, he needed to spend a lot of time pandering to her to earn the support of the Marquess of Dingbei and her family, and for the sake of his unborn child, of his unborn child. She was sensitive during her pregnancy, and he had long since lost his patience with her. But since he was in a good mood, he showed her a rare, comforting smile. Die. Stupid bitch. I really hope he suffers a fate worse than death. What the fuck is this guy? Ugh. Prick. Get some rest. Don't tire yourself out too much, he told her gently. Shut the fuck up, you fucking bitch! You bitch! His consort, Lady Lang, was unused to this kind of affection. The sixth prince had treated her coldly for a few months now, but Lady Lang had nowhere to vent her suffering. She knew this child was incredibly important to the sixth prince. The entire family, including herself, had hoped for a son. But the imperial physician said it would be a daughter. Several physicians all said the same. When the sixth prince found out, he didn't blame her, but he did immediately acquire a couple of beautiful concubines, telling her bluntly that in this current situation, he needed a son as soon as possible to prepare for the future. What a fucking bitch! She couldn't blame anyone else for what was going on in her own womb. An ad. Okay, that's great. Oh well. She couldn't blame anyone else for what was going on in her own womb, and her own family supported the sixth prince's decision, asking her to be patient and tolerant. Each day, Lady Lang's mood plummeted further and further, and she had no one to confide in. Before she was married, she'd been a lively girl. Now her mental state was quite delicate, and she would shed tears at the drop of a hat. The sixth prince often visited his other concubines, and only came to see her occasionally to keep up the appearance of a loving couple. I'm gonna castrate this bitch. He's got to be neutered! Neuter him! Neuter him! Neuter him! Neuter him! She couldn't tell if she was compatible with the sixth prince, but she was jealous when she saw how much Prince Jing, a prince just like her husband, doted on his consort. The Sixth Prince seldom laughed and talked with her like he was now, and she wholeheartedly hoped that such days would continue a little longer. That sucks. That sucks. I agree. That sucks so much. I agree. As a scene break. Liu, Prince Jing, and Wang Ji continued to walk for a while to confirm that the Sixth Prince wasn't following them before they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness for Dabao. Liu smiled and picked him up. Dabao had already stopped crying. His dark grape-like eyes sparkled sparkling as he turned his head to look at his fish dad and laughed. Liu was surprised. He knew Dabao was smarter than the other children and could understand what the adults were talking about. Had he... Dabao, did you do that on purpose? Liu asked quietly, smiling as he pressed Dabao's cheek against his own. Dabao's fat little finger pointed at the figure in the distance. He's bad. The Sixth Prince usually hid his true self well, and most people couldn't tell what he was thinking. But Dabao was one of the Emperor's favorites. He was often taken to Changqing Palace, where he'd regularly witness the Sixth Prince's greetings to the Emperor. Of course, the Sixth Prince wouldn't do anything untoward in front of the Emperor, but when the Emperor wasn't paying attention, the Sixth Prince's gaze on Dabao always turned poisonous. Dabao wasn't even a year old yet, and so the Sixth Prince treated him like an ordinary baby his age, and never bothered to conceal his disgust for the child. But Dabao wasn't an ordinary baby. Before he became a human baby, he'd spent 10 months as a young fish. Fish matured faster than humans, and Dabao already understood a lot of things about the world. The Sixth Prince's unkind gaze made Dabao uncomfortable, and he'd committed to memory the fact that the Sixth Prince was a bad man. Of course, Dabao was still a child, in the face of a bad guy who made him uncomfortable. His instinct was to get away. The reason he'd cried so hard earlier was to get his fish dad to stay further away from the bad guy. Though it was an accident, Dabao was happy that he could finally protect his fish dad for once. Prince Jing reached over and rubbed his head. Dabao's face turned red with elation. Daddy Prince Jing rubbed his head! Liu rewarded Dabao with kisses, determined to cover half of Dabao's face with saliva. Liu was in the middle of planting kisses when his vision blurred, and he suddenly saw Erbao, Sanbao, and Sibao coming over, their chubby little faces wobbling in front of him. When it came to kisses, one should worry less about the lack of them, and more about evenly distributing them. Footnote. A paraphrased quote from chapter 16 of Analects of Confucius. Jishi. Okay. That's stupid. Liu resisted the urge to laugh and kissed all of them. Everyone, be good. The family of 6, along with Wang Ji, quickly headed toward the dragon tent. The Emperor had been waiting for a long time. When he saw Prince Jing and Liu arrive with their children, he smiled. Are you finally at ease? He teased. He was making fun of the way Prince Jing had begged him earlier, and Prince Jing took it silently. Liu looked back and forth between the Emperor and Prince Jing, unbearably curious. Though Prince Jing didn't seem to be disgruntled, he put Dabao down. Dabao, king of soothing situations over, hit the ground and immediately started toddling over to Emperor Grandpa. That's so cute. The Emperor was nonchalant about making jibes at his son, but as soon as he saw his grandson, what am I saying? Jibes. I have not read that word, I don't think ever. Jibes? Okay. I don't know if I'm ever gonna live that one down, actually. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna forget. Why does this taste like apple juice? And orange juice? It tastes like... Nah, it just tastes like multi-fruit juice. It's really yummy. Okay, The emperor was nonchalant about making jibes at his son, but as soon as he saw his grandson, he was elated. He changed the topic immediately. Doesn't it seem like Dabo is walking much more steadily now? Liu couldn't believe it. Dabo wasn't. Dabo really wasn't. Emperor, you just saw him a couple of hours ago. Don't tell such blatant lies. After a great stumbling ordeal, Dabo finally reached the emperor and grabbed the hem of the dragon robe. The emperor picked him up, smiling. With his chubby little grandson in his arms, the emperor felt bitter hatred toward those who were trying to plot against Dabo. If Prince Jing fell out of favor with the 8th prince was spurned, who would benefit? If Prince Jing fell out of favor... if Prince Jing fell out of favor and the 8th prince was spurned. I don't know what that word is, but okay. Who would benefit? The emperor already knew the answer, but the person had never revealed such ambitions before. Didn't that prove that he knew how to hide and had been putting on an act in front of him all these years? He'd have to force him to make a move and catch him in the act, so there'd be no space for him to argue. The emperor had thought of the thorough plan already, but it required the cooperation of Prince Jing's family. Dabo, can you help Grandpa with something? The emperor asked, smiling. He could have just ordered an edict, but he wanted to explain it to Dabo personally. Dabo blinked. He realized that adults liked it when he helped. Fish Dad said it a lot, and Grandpa said it too. Dabo loved Fish Dad and Grandpa, so of course he was willing. Dabo patted his small chest. Okay. Patted his small chest. Oh, it's too much. The emperor's eyes filled with a smile, and he continued to tease. Is it okay even if it hurts? Dabo scrunched up his chubby little face. Fish Dad had taught him before that he had to keep his word. Dabo was afraid of pain, but he couldn't take it back now. Dabo bravely nodded. Okay. Liu had some idea of what the plan was, but he and Prince Jing couldn't really do anything about it. Since this was the emperor's will, the children had been born at the western border, so the gossip surrounding them was inevitable. The emperor was doing all this to silence those with harmful intentions. He also knew that the pain the emperor was talking about wasn't really that painful, but as a father, it was extremely difficult for Liu. The emperor called over the imperial physician, and Liu turned away. Prince Jing held his hand under his sleeves, and Liu pinched his hand hard as if he was angry, but Prince Jing's brow didn't even twitch. The emperor was worried that Dabo would be afraid, so he held him in his lap. When head eunuch Lo came over to take Dabao's blood, the emperor stared at him coldly the entire time. Lord Rushang had been in his current position for many years now, but his fingers still trembled slightly. Seeming even more nervous than Prince Jing's heir in the emperor's lap. Dabo might have said he wasn't afraid, but he still was. He closed his eyes when he saw the needle, but in the end, all that happened was a prick to his finger. Dabo thought it wasn't too bad after all, much better than the time he tried to eat an unpeeled lychee. Idiot. I know he's a baby, but idiot. Oh, God. Who left him alone with the lychees? Oh, stupid baby. Oh, stupid baby. I love him so much, though. But when he opened his eyes and looked around, he saw that Fish Dad's eyes were reddened, while Grandpa and Daddy Prince Jing looked like they wanted to hit someone. Weird. Your Majesty, head eunuch Lo asked bravely, what about the other Gongzes? Liu knew that he was just doing his job, but he practically wanted to strangle him. Watching their older brother get poked with a needle had made the other babies frightened. They didn't dare to even breathe. The emperor was just about to shake his head when Dabo hurriedly spoke up. Grandpa, me! Dabo knew that it was going to hurt a little, and his younger brothers might not be as good at enduring it as he was. If Grandpa needed to poke someone, Dabo would do it for his brothers. Dabo bravely stuck out another finger. The smile in the emperor's eyes grew stronger. All right. Luo Risheng paused. He didn't know this was a possibility. Dao thought he was going to be poked again and closed his eyes, scared. But nothing happened. Luo Gonggong just took a couple more drops of blood from his already pricked finger. Then the emperor asked for a strip of cloth and personally wrapped it thickly around Dao's finger. When Dao was returned to Liu hugged him, heart aching. The other babies didn't try to clamor for their fish dad's hug anymore. With Sabao in the lead, they all blew on Dao's bandaged finger. It wouldn't hurt anymore if they blew on it. The emperor's heart softened when he watched the children. Then he ordered Luo Risheng to go fetch the 8th prince. Sorry, my nose is getting so itchy. My voice is vibrating my nose. I have too much resonance to put it in music terms. Resonance. Sorry. I know sniffies are not the best sound, but gotta do what I gotta do. Okay, what is this? What were we? They're blowing on his finger. The emperor's heart softened as he watched the children. Then he ordered Luo Risheng to go fetch the 8th prince. On the day of Concubine Lu's incident, the 8th prince and the 7th prince had been staying in the same tent. There was a lot of yelling that night, and the 8th prince thought it was too noisy, but nobody would tell him what was going on. Ever since then, he hadn't been able to see his mother, and even the 7th prince, who he was normally quite close with, had been avoiding him. The only person kind enough to tell him anything was the 6th prince. He informed him that his mother had been caught with a strange man at night, which left the 8th prince stunned. He was only 7 years old. He was only 7 years old! He was only 7 years old, but he understood what kind of crime this was. His mother had been urgently sent back to the palace, and the servants were all whispering behind his back. Ugh. When the emperor asked him to be tested, the 8th prince gritted his teeth and agreed. This was the only way to find out who he really was. The emperor got everything ready and had Luo Risheng summon the princes, Prince Li, a couple of important ministers, and the elders of the royal family to the dragon tent. Prince Li has received a secret report that casts doubt on the royal bloodline, the emperor announced. I had decided to use the secret method to verify the truth of this accusation. He didn't mention the secret letter or who was to be tested, only that the blood had already been collected. He ordered the imperial physician who knew the secret method to test the blood immediately. The elders and ministers were shocked. For one thing, the emperor didn't explain whose bloodline was under suspicion, and for another, the jade bottles that held the blood of the imperial physician was to test. The jade bottles that held the blood the imperial physician was to test had nothing on them but some strange marks, so nobody could tell who they belonged to. Those marks were Liu's loving contribution. After he learned about the emperor's plan, Liu suggested replacing names with marks, so only the emperor knew which was which. The 6th prince was keenly anticipating the emperor's furious reaction after the results were revealed, but he hadn't been expecting the emperor to use this method. Normally, the imperial physician would personally extract the blood to test it, which meant that he would know whose it was, but with the emperor's method, the imperial physician couldn't tell who the blood belonged to. It was clear that the emperor was wary of the imperial physician as well. The safest way to fake the test results was to bribe the imperial physician. There weren't many Why is weren't? It's sounding weird now. There weren't many imperial physicians who knew the secret method, but because Consort Jiang and the 6 princes because Consort Zhang, the sixth prince's mother, had saved the life of a certain imperial physician Pan in the past, they were able to convince him to test the little heir's blood they had retrieved from Prince Jing's manor. Quote unquote little heirs. The sixth prince was only able to smoothly launch this battle after Imperial Physician Pan adamantly promised him that the young Shizu was definitely not part of the royal bloodline. My nose again. Sorry. I'm sorry, it's bothering me. It's okay, we only have like a bit more to get through. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how long we go. The imperial physician, not knowing whose blood was in which bottle, wasn't really a problem for the sixth prince, since he had already confirmed that Prince Jing's Shizu wasn't really his. But the sixth prince was slightly suspicious. But the sixth prince was slightly suspicious as to why the emperor had decided to arrange things this way. That was a lot of sibilants, a lot of S's. Wangji, what should we do? The sixth prince caught sight of Prince Jing's consort holding the quote-unquote, hurt little Shizu, anxiously discussing plans with Wangji. The emperor had summoned all the princes except the second and the third, but there was no sign of Prince Jing either. It seemed the emperor was still holding on to Prince Jing, leaving his consort panicked. You're so gay? Unprompted, but okay. It's not wrong. Not wrong. The sixth prince ordered his servant to go over and eavesdrop. The consort was quite vigilant, so the servant couldn't get too close, but he heard the consort say the phrases, "I can't find him," and "no way to switch them." The sixth prince mulled this over. It seemed the consort was distraught. The consort definitely knew where the little Shizu came from. In light of the emperor's arrangements, the sixth prince wasn't panicked. The ones who should be panicked were Prince Jing's family. So the measures the emperor had taken were most likely to guard against Prince Jing and to prevent him from meddling. The sixth prince had nothing to worry about. He was sure he'd read the emperor like an open book. So he settled down and waited for the results. On the other hand, the sixth prince's ally, Imperial Physician Pan, was a little anxious. I'll bet you are. He had to be extremely cautious when the royal bloodline was involved. Several imperial physicians had separately tested the blood, and when they compared the results, Imperial Physician Pan came to the sudden realization that all blood samples were of the royal bloodline. Why was it different from the result the sixth prince wanted? Imperial Physician Pan was dumbfounded. This concerned the sixth prince's career and future. No matter what, Imperial Physician Pan had to let the sixth prince know. Claiming he felt unwell and needed to wash his hands, he slipped out in a panic before the test was completed. What the fuck? What the fuck? Is he still playing this game? Is he still riding the the sixth prince's dick? What's going on? Okay, well, that's where we're gonna leave off for today. What the hell? What? The next chapter is called Fish Babies Are the Best. Whatever that means. But, okay. Okay. That's where we're leaving off for today. My reading has been going downhill since the break, so I'm gonna just stop here before my brain fries itself. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for joining. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this. I know on YouTube you have to click on OBS and YouTube, which is crazy, but okay. But yeah, I'll say it later. Actually, I have news. I'm going to be reading Scum Villain on stream. Dual streaming again on Sunday. Yippee! I'm gonna read Scum Villain. I've already read it, but I'm rereading it because I love it and it's my favorite thing in the world, and I want everyone to understand that. You need to understand. And also, fun fact is that the artist for the English novels is also basically my favorite artist ever. And when I saw the book, I was like, huh, what? I know that. Anyway, we're not talking about Scum Villain right now. We're talking about the fish. I love the fish. I love this fish. It's so stupid. I love it so much. Anyway, also on Monday, I will be part of a karaoke relay that is like a Trans Day of Visibility thing. I will be visible. Me and a lot of other trans folks are gonna be visible. So yeah, go to my Blue Sky, I guess, or Twitter. I guess I repost on Twitter too, so if you want more info on that, I have Blue Sky and Twitter, but I don't use Twitter very much. But anyway, thanks for being here. I will see you later. Stay safe and wear masks. Goodbye.